Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back.
Oh, good morning and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Run It Back right here on FanDuel TV. How are we doing this morning? Chandler, you first.
I feel really, really good. Michelle, how are you doing today?
I feel great. I went to a really early class, so I feel very peaceful. Lou, and yourself?
Sensational.
Fair enough. Look at us. Shams is working on something. I don't know what it is. I really don't. We never know. We know when you guys know. So when we find out, you'll be finding out. Stand by. But until then, we got a couple games to react to from last night. Yeah, let's start with this one, shall we? Thunder Mavericks. Woo-hoo-hoo. Dallas looked completely in control of this one until they didn't. SGA 34-8-5. Jalen Williams 14-9-6. Holmgren had 18. Luka 18, 12, and 10. Kyrie had 9 points. A little odd night for everybody. It was a physical game, which we love. Thunder were down double digits at halftime. Maybe a lot of people turned it off or changed the channel. I've heard that happens a couple times. And then the second half unfolded, and it was a completely different ball game. SGA showing the world why he finished second in MVP votes. Chandler, they're young. They haven't been here before, and yet they seemed very poised last night.
Yeah, this was an unbelievable second half to a game where everybody thought this game was over. Everybody thought this game was out of reach. This game was extremely, extremely physical. And when the Thunder went to this lineup at the end of the game with Cason Wallace and Lou Dort both on the floor guarding Kyrie and Luka, I feel like that changed everything because you had Shai with the ball in his hands, knocking down every mid-range jumper he took. And this is with Jalen Williams having an off night, but he was still creating, getting in the paint. But when those two guys, they're so athletic, they're so physical, they made things really, really difficult on those two guys. And they're almost making Dallas dare PJ Washington beat him. And he's getting great looks, and to his credit, he's knocking them down. But you can't expect for the Mavs to be, to win this game when Luka and Kyrie aren't playing at that offensive level that we're used to seeing them play. So I thought this was an unbelievable performance in the second half by the Thunder to show this kind of grit and guts on the road. And they know how important this win is. When the team goes down 3-1, there's 95% chance to win this series. When it's 2-2 and whoever wins game 5, they have an 85%. They have an 85% chance of winning this season, this series. So they just went back into Dallas, down double digits, and stole back home court. And now the momentum, like every other series, has just shifted all the way back to Oklahoma City. And now they have a chance at home to take care of business and really, get a nice cushion going into game 6 of the series.
Crazy, Lou. Turnaround is happening. What'd you see?
I was impressed, especially with a young team, right? We spoke about taking the training wheels off and stop making excuses or stop giving them compliments about it being a young team. This is a good basketball team, whether they're young, old, or indifferent. They're a good basketball team. And the thing that I was most impressed about, the last 5 minutes of the game, they said, you know what, we can score with the best of them, but we know we're an elite defensive team and we have a lot of different guys that can guard a lot of different positions. Let's hang our hats on the defensive end. Let's hunker down and get stops. And that's what that team was able to do. They just, for the last 5 minutes of the game, they concentrated on getting stops. And then on the other end of the floor, they trusted their leader. They trusted their best player, SGA, to make plays for them. They trusted Jalen Williams to come in and make plays for them. And that's what those two guys did, was able to grind out a really gritty basketball game on the road, going back to OKC now with some momentum going their way in a newly 3-game series. Very impressive win.
I feel like we've spent a lot of time in these here playoffs talking about the refs, but in this particular case, at least for now, they let them play, Chandler, and that's fun to see as a fan watching on the television. Did you love it?
I did love it, and you got to give Lou Dort credit. It's unbelievable how physical he's being with Luka. Even before, as soon as he's on the floor, you watch him. He's picking him up 94 feet. He's constantly just putting a hand in his chest. He's making nothing easy for him. It's almost easier for Luka when he has the ball than without the ball because Dort is just in his face, in his grill nonstop. And that takes so much effort. That takes so much energy to do. And he's doing that the entire game. So, yeah, I think the refs, they are getting a little way. But when you throw the first punch like Lou Dort does, you get a little bit more leniency with the whistle. And when you're that physical every single play, the ref's not going to blow the whistle. And you see before the game, the assistant coach for the Mavs, they're literally working on holding Luka's arms down while he's coming off pick and rolls, trying to emulate how physical Lou Dort is and how much the referees are letting him get away with. But it's unbelievable what he's doing for the entire consistency of the game. He is just in his kitchen all night long, and that takes a toll on you. And then on the flip side, now you have Luka playing defense and exhausting his energy on that end just as much as on the offensive end. You'll see inefficient nights like this.
Plus, it's
And you know
it's
what?
fun to get. Yeah, go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and that works in OKC's favor, Chandler. You know, they were mocking it the beginning of the game, holding his arms down, this and that. But the minute that game starts, soon as OKC scores the basketball, Lou Dort's turning around, he's pushing Luka, he's holding him before he even catches the ball. And what's Luka's response to that? He's stopping, throwing his head back, looking over at the referees, looking for an out. And the referees are like, no, you're going to have to play through this. You're going to have to play through it. The fans have asked. Everybody were complaining. We want physicality back. We want that competitive spirit back. We know you guys can score 1,000 points, but we want to see the rough and rugged NBA. We want to see you guys earn it. And OKC is playing that hand, and they're playing it perfect. And if it came down to the end of that basketball game, at that point, I feel like Luka was tired of getting pushed. He was tired of getting touched. He was tired of the physicality, and they started settling for jump shots. I think that style of play, it worked in OKC's favor down that stretch.
They got to be having a field day because we all know Luka's rep, and Lou, you just talked about it. He spends more time kind of trying to engage with the refs, which if you're a Dallas Mavericks coach, an assistant coach, whoever, do you think they're constantly on him about that? Or is he such a big star that they're not going to change that?
No, they are on him, and it's a real issue, and it's a concern because if you watch the game, every single play he's got something to say, and they obviously are showing him ways of practicing the physicality and playing through this contact that Lou Dort is providing here. But it's still in the middle of the game when things aren't going your way and you're missing shots and you feel like you're getting fouled every single play. He has to talk to the refs. So I think it's something that obviously he's going to have to get better at. He's going to have to grow because he's too talented. He's too good to be worrying about officiating. And every single night now for the rest of his career, the whole NBA is watching this. They're seeing how physical Lou Dort's being with him. Maybe they won't get away with it in the regular season, but he's got to be more mature. He's got to be better with just leaving the refs alone. He's too valuable for first of all, for his team, for him to be getting a technical foul. God forbid he gets 2 technical fouls and he gets tossed. Then they're in real trouble. But yeah, it's just hopefully it comes with his growth just to lay off the refs because they're not going to change their call.
No. You forget, too, he's 25. I mean, I think sometimes we're so used to seeing him that he's older in our minds. But there was a moment at the end of the game here, a non-call by Jalen Williams on a double dribble. That was, we can make of it what you will, guys. Lou, I'll start with you. Swallowing the whistle in this moment. You love it? You hate it?
Yeah, I thought it was a double dribble, but I also see Lively put his hand on the ball. I don't know the rules, but like right here when he puts his hand on the ball, I don't know if that's deemed a loose ball or what. It looks like he has. To me, it's obvious that he has possession, but in the referee's eyes, going full speed, I don't know if this is considered him having, if this is considered a loose ball or not. So it's kind of 50-50. I think in the eye of public opinion, it might be 50-50. To me, I thought it was a double dribble.
Yeah,
it's Dallas.
It's just simply a blown call. A loose ball means the ball is loose and it's in the air on the floor.
Yeah.
This ball, there was no loss of possession here for Jalen Williams. So I think at this point in the game that is a unfortunate missed call there because also Lively clearly thought he couldn't dribble because he just gave the whole basket up trying to stop him from passing the ball out. But yeah, again, when you slow it down like this, it's not bang, bang. Sure, we can sit here and blame the refs, and it's one play at the end of the game, so it's a little magnified here. But it was definitely a double dribble, but you got to play on. You got to get over it.
Lou, we're going to start with you on this next one because SGA had a hell of a fourth quarter. And what's fun about watching him now is that every season there's going to be something more. He gets better and better. And now we're looking at him as a closer in this particular game. So would you like to expand a little bit on what you saw from him in the fourth?
Yeah, I love the fact that he's embracing just being the best player on his team. He's not shying away from big moments, not shying away from big plays. He wants that basketball in these situations. And if you're the OKC Thunder, that's what you want to see out of one of your best players, out of your best player. You want him to want that basketball coming down the stretch. And look at him, he's making tough shot after tough shot. And even the announcers, they were saying, hey, SGA has been lights out in the fourth quarter. He's been really special in the fourth quarters. And last night, he didn't disappoint at all. And every bucket that he made was needed. Every bucket that he made was a tough shot. It was contested. He took over this basketball game and grinded out the win that they needed on the offensive end. Give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, and you watch the end of this game, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they look like the mature team. They look like the team with closures. We haven't even talked about the missed free throw by Luka with 10 seconds left. Then come down, insert a rookie, Chet Holmgren at the free throw line. He knocks down both. So at the end of the day, this team was so poised down the stretch defensively. They took care of the ball. They took care of a no call there on the baseline. They kept playing through the whistle. And I feel like sometimes when you're so young, you don't even have time to be nervous. You don't even have time to think. And this team is just playing, and they trust in their leader, SGA. Some of these pull-ups SGA were hitting were insane. One went literally over the backboard. He was just in his zone. And the Mavericks, I think they shot 52% from the free throw line. It's hard to win games when you're just giving up 10, 12, 14 points, at the free throw line. That is very, very tough to overcome. So I think down the stretch, the Thunder just looked like the older, mature team, which is crazy given how young they are.
It's insane to say out loud. The mid-range game on SGA. We love to make lists, top threes, top two, top five. Where are we putting him right now, Lou?
He's in the mix. He's in the mix. He's building on it. I think there's gonna be a few guys that have something to say about the mid-range game. DeMar DeRozan is elite in that mid-range. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is elite in that mid-range. Kawhi Leonard is elite. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. These are guys that I'm thinking of off the top of my head without even taking a deep dive into my catalog of guys in the mid-range. But he's right there, and it's something that I've watched him work on in his game. Before the game was so three-heavy and so analytical, he was coming into the league at a time where the mid-range still had some value, and he really worked on that, really worked on his touch around that rim, and it's paying dividends for him.
Lou, do you take credit for any of this that I'm looking at right now?
I take credit for the fadeaways going left. I'm pretty sure he found that little piece right there in my bag and put it in his. I take credit for that.
And you know what's crazy about this team too is you look at the stat sheet and you look that SGA was the only guy with a big game, but it does not matter when you have guys that make big plays down the stretch. Lou Dort hit crazy clutch threes in the corner. Chet Holmgren steps up like I talked about with the free throws, and he hit a big corner three. Jalen Williams made some big plays at the end of the stretch. So when you have a balanced attack, I think that helps your overall offense. But when you have a guy like SGA that's closing the game like that, that's just in his rhythm, you need just guys to step up at moments of the game. And they had multiple different guys step up in every moment of the game, especially in the fourth quarter and down the stretch, where every time Dallas would kind of get up, cut it to 6, cut it to 7, someone else would score. Cason Wallace would make a three. Lou Dort would make a corner three. They'd get a deflection, a huge turnover by Tim Hardaway Jr. at the end of the game that let Jalen Williams get out in the break. So they took advantage of every mistake that Dallas made. Although they know their second, third, fourth best players, they didn't have huge games. They all came up big in clutch moments.
Luka and Kyrie, by the way, I mean, we've spoken so highly of everything they've done, Kyrie especially. And look, they both had an off night, which is tough to sort of withstand if both your main guys are doing that. But 9 points on 11 shots for Kyrie Irving is odd, Chandler. Why does something like that happen on a night like last night, game 4?
It's inexcusable. And this has happened again. This has happened before in this series where he's, taken 8 shots, 9 shots, whatever it was. He's got to be aggressive. And he almost felt this urgency last night. You could tell in the fourth quarter, okay, this isn't Luka's night. They're struggling. The way they're guarding him is difficult. Kyrie Irving's got to take over. And they'll just, whoever's on an ISO with one of those two guys, they'll just throw a double team and they'll make Derek Jones. They'll make Tim Hardaway. They'll make PJ Washington, who, by the way, without PJ Washington, this series would probably be over. He's been so good offensively. They're making these other guys beat shots. When you have two guys like Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, you know what they're going to usually give you, right? You know that they can explode. You know that they can score a lot of points. But we want to make these other guys beat us. We want Daniel Gafford to have to finish. We want Derek Lively to have to make his free throws every time he's in the paint. We're going to foul him. So when you look at the box score, it does look glaring because I don't care. Kyrie Irving, I don't care about the 4 for 11. I care about the 11. I would rather see that at 20, 22. Like, he's one of the best offensive scorers of all time. Your season is on the line. I expect him to be uber aggressive in game 5, and him and Luka have to carry the majority of the load offensively because that is this team is dynamic, and that's where everything else opens up, and you can get that more balanced attack. Tim Hardaway can get the open shots, or Josh Green can get the open looks. So you have to do that, but you have to start with those two guys being aggressive. But it's hard when you got guys like Lou Dort and Cason Wallace and all these different guys on Thunder that can switch and be physical with you. So it's a hell of a series, and if I had to guess now, I think the momentum obviously goes back to Oklahoma City at home, but the Mavs have shown that they can beat them there as well.
Yeah, you know, Chandler, I see it a little differently because I'm looking at the stat sheet, right? PJ Washington was 7 for 19, and he's been assertive. He's been the guy that's been aggressive, right? And so sometimes when you have another guy that's cooking, that's in a good rhythm, even Jones had 17 points on an efficient night. You know, these are guys that are taking the majority of the shots. And even though he's Kyrie Irving, I think he put himself in a facilitating mood at that point. Like, you know, it can possibly be too many chefs in the kitchen sometimes. I think that's the trouble that the Clippers get into. And that's where you get James Harden turning himself into a facilitator, kind of being passive a little bit. I think Kyrie kind of got caught up in that because, you know, the Dallas Mavericks, they were in charge of this game for about 43 to 44 minutes of this basketball game. So I think in Kyrie's head, and I'm just guessing, you know, he's probably thinking the way that we're playing is efficient, is self-sufficient enough for us to win this basketball game. There's no need for me to try to take shots or be aggressive at these points. And by the time that he probably wanted that basketball, OKC was already rolling on the other end. And so I think this is something that he adjusts to, opposed to just allowing this to happen again. I think this is a one-off. That's just how the game went for the Dallas Mavericks. Because like I said, the way that they were playing up until the 5-minute mark, the 4-minute mark, it was working for them, you know. And so I think in game 5 coming up, I think we see a different version of Kyrie Irving. He doesn't wait for the game to come to him.
And those damn free throws. It's weird to talk about a veteran star team with free throws. Like that can't happen. Luka said it. He knows. The other game of the night, Celtics Cavs. Yep, we have to talk about this one. Celtics squeezed a win out on this one, 109-102. Tatum and Brown, big contributors. There's no Donovan Mitchell. Of course, no Jared Allen as well. Tatum had 33. Brown had 27. Garland finished with 30 and 7. Mobley with his 19. But a Donovan Mitchell-less Cavaliers team was allowed to hang out for quite some time. This is from Draymond Green. The Celtics window's right now, and there needs to be more urgency from this team. I mean, that seems like no duh, but that game was close, uncomfortably close, I would imagine, if you're a member of this team or a fan of this team, Chandler. Am I being too hard on them, or does it feel like they don't have that extra killer?
I think that we're being a little tough on them. I think that they're doing what they need to do to win series and to win games. And sometimes when a team's best player like Donovan Mitchell's out, they almost play harder. They almost play more together. They play more unselfish. And so early on, I feel like that's what the Cleveland Cavaliers were doing. They hit the most threes that they have hit all postseason. Max Strus got hot, so things happen. But now we criticize Jason Tatum all the time for not being aggressive, for not being, having these big games offensively. He does it last night, and we're still trying to find ways to nitpick at them winning a game and going up 3-1 in a series. So Jason Tatum looked fantastic to me last night. He was aggressive. He was getting to his spots. He was knocking down shots. He was playing physical. He dominated this game last night from start to finish. Yeah, the Cavs hung around. They're an NBA team that has a lot of talent, and they had a lot of guys that stepped up and they made shots last night. Sam Merrill came in and made threes. Georgie Niang made a three. Max Strus hit more threes in the whole series than he did. He hit more threes in the game last night than he had in the whole series leading up to this. So they caught fire. They weren't just going to lay down. They're at home. But I think that the Celtics, I think we know how good we think they can be in this playoffs. They haven't shown it to their potential. But think about it. They had one hiccup in the Miami Heat series, and then they beat their ass 3 straight times. Now, same thing here. They had one hiccup in this series, and now they're probably going to beat them 4-1. So they're basically 8-2 in the playoffs, and we're still finding reasons to nitpick and act like they're not that good. They don't have that killer instinct. Which is, I look on the flip side. I think there's so much room for them to continue to get better. And in this playoff series, we know whoever it's going to be on the other side, a banged up Knicks or the Pacers, we're all going to pick the Celtics to win. So we're still trying to find ways to not make them who people think they are when they're basically cakewalking to the NBA championship. And Jason Tatum, again, he's going to get a lot
lucky they're in the East. That's part of it. I mean,
that's true, but I mean, again, they are. So we can't make up some thing in our head that just because they're in the Eastern Conference. I think they have been the best, most dominant, most balanced team all year long. They've had the best starting five all year long, and they've been pretty fortunate with health besides Porzingis out of the lineup. So I think they're just fine. I think as soon as they get KP back, who knows when that's going to be, but I think they are just fine, and they're going to continue to get better.
Lou, what do you have to add?
I agree with him. You know, we're nitpicking. Like, again, we'll praise the OKC team for walking the Dallas Mavericks down to tie this thing up 2-2. So put the shoe on the other foot. We saw a Cleveland Cavaliers team that was playing desperately as they could to try to get this thing to 2-2 opposed to a 3-1 when they know that's going to be an uphill battle going back to Boston. They had 4 guys in double figures, 4 guys in high double figures, by the way, in 20s and 30s, really trying to beat this basketball team. And so I don't see them playing down to their competition. I see them as surviving on teams that are playing as hard as they can and just don't have enough firepower to beat them. You know, simple as that. And to me, I think they make adjustments on the fly. They're one of those teams that they may go into a game with a game plan for one thing. If that's not working, they'll make their adjustments and then they'll start playing a completely different way. And so I think there's value in them finding ways to win these grind out games on the road and taking it back home to close it out. I think there's value in that.
And Michelle, let's be honest. We knew this series was over before it started, right? We knew this wasn't going to be a competitive series. Now you throw out Donovan Mitchell, who's not even playing that. So now, again, I think would we have loved to see a 30-point beatdown last night for the Celtics to step on the gas? Yeah, sure, we'd love that. That could possibly still happen in Game 5, but we knew that this series wasn't going to be very competitive. So I think naturally, even the Celtics know that, and there was going to be some letdown. But listen, at the end of the day, they're handling their business. They got a big game from their best player, and they're up 3-1 going back home to probably end this series. So I think they've done just enough. The other series, hope maybe goes 7, so they give KP more time to get back. Then they're fully loaded going into the most important part of the season. So I think we're overcritical on the Celtics because at the end of the day, they are a very good offensive team. They're a very good defensive team. Their bench has been inconsistent and a problem all year long, but now you're getting stuff from Cornette. Cornette looked great last night. Pritchard looks great last night. So now you're getting production off the bench. Celtics are going to be just fine.
Look, I'm not the only one. Their own fans leave games early. So it's not like I'm the only one that's not uber impressed. And let's be honest, they're hella blessed in being in the East, not just
left
because
when they were losing.
Lou, you don't leave a playoff game when your team's losing. I would never.
Traffic is traffic, Michelle.
Y'all,
trying to beat
they got
traffic.
to think about the steps they get to take to get to the finals. No Jimmy Butler, no Donovan Mitchell, no Jared Allen. If they face the Knicks, no one. And if they face Indiana,
and
they should kill them.
And they still have a commanding 3-1 lead. What's the problem? They're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. What's the problem?
I know, and I'm bored. I'm sorry. Maybe it'll get better. It's just a personal preference.
And that's fair too. 2 things can be true. That's fair too.
2 things can be true. Y'all were texting about this moment last night, whether or not this should have been a technical. It's second quarter time. Jaylen Brown, there's a bit of there's this, whatever that is. Trips up Max Strus. What are we thinking? I mean, it's weird, but
this is crazy to me because they reviewed it, right? And the ruling is a non-basketball play. Clearly, Strus has nothing else to do here, right? He lost his bounce. He's fallen over. He's not kicking him. He's not stepping down on his head. He's not trying to do anything extra here. He's just simply trying to hop over him. So I thought this was great. The fact that they took time and reviewed this and called this a common foul when he literally tries to grab his ankle while he's running. Like this to me was another blown call. And again, I always talk about refs have a bad job, bang, bang play. They reviewed this. Like, how do you review this and not call this a flagrant foul? This isn't a basketball play. He purposely tried to trip a dude running back. It's just a bullshit, bad call, especially after review. This still doesn't make sense to me.
It's like barely a grab. Like, okay, yeah, so everyone agrees. It's like a weird moment. He goes for it. All right, well.
In what world is that a basketball play?
Could you make the argument Jaylen Brown was like protecting his face and his arm sort of got tangled? Could you make that argument?
They tried to make that. That was the argument that they made after they reviewed it. They said he was protecting his face, but the more I look at it, it looked like he was pretty safe.
I think we're all watching his hand to see if there's an actual clasping, and then that's the official grab. But yeah, missed call. Nothing we can do about it now. We also had a LeBron sighting last night, courtside. The whole fam.
Do we got to talk about it?
Drinking. I mean, what's on her head, for God's sakes? He had a whole bottle of Opus, though, underneath his chair, so that's kind of cool. Look, there have been speculation in my mind. Yeah, no, there's an entire bottle of Opus. Yes. I don't lie about Opus, guys. It's the one thing I'll never lie about. Wouldn't that be great if he finished everything in Cleveland with Bronny? Just go back there and call it a show?
Lou, you caught it. What do you think this man does till June, whatever the draft is?
I'm not doing this. I don't want to do this.
Welcome to the media, Lou. This is what it is.
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it either. I don't want to do it, but I think I'm going to do it. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. His agent's sitting there. It's where Bronny was born. It's where everything started. It makes too good. Not to mention, by the way, they kind of need a small forward like Donovan Mitchell. What's he gonna do? I know he loves JB Bickerstaff. Maybe JB Bickerstaff's job saved if LeBron goes there. It makes too much sense for me not to make sense of it. I have to. Not to mention, Bronny measures at 6'1" yesterday after being listed at 6'4" all season long was also crazy.
Maybe his posture's bad. He needs yoga.
I don't know.
6'4" and 6'1" are very different.
Yeah, that's just like
you know what?
Flat lie.
Since we're here, I will say something in Bronny's defense because I discovered last night.
He's doing it.
No. I got a different angle. We've been making all of this fuss about Bronny averaging 4 and 5 points a game in his college career. He's not ready. The projected #1 pick averaged 9 and 4 this year.
Yeah, it's a garbage draft.
What's
garbage?
Well, it's double. Yeah,
like so to me that makes him very much a part of this group of draftees.
Makes him a second rounder.
That makes him a late first round second rounder. He's right in the mix in the perfect draft.
I think he's going to Cleveland. After last night, I can't unsee it.
There was a part of me that thought this early because I thought, what does Cleveland have to lose, But oh God, talk about.
By the way, no one would blame them either. It's the king. It's his hometown. No one would blame the front office of the ownership for making that move. Lakers, any other big market, you draft Bronny, it doesn't work out. LeBron gets hurt, he sucks. It doesn't matter. You get fired. No one's getting fired on Cleveland's front office for drafting this kid. I'm telling you. Makes sense, Lou.
It's going to be a long summer. Thank God WNBA kicks off. We can change the subject. Caitlin Clark it's like yesterday we were watching her play in college. Tonight we get to watch her play in the pros. The big debut, 28th season starts tonight. Indiana taking on the Connecticut Sun. Impact-wise, Chandler, we're seeing it already, but on the court, what are you expecting?
I expect her to be a big-time scorer in the WNBA. Obviously, we know how well she can shoot. We know how well she can shoot off the dribble and coming off screens. I think they're going to obviously showcase her and what she can do best. And I think the impact she's already made with, I think their preseason game, there was 13,000 people or something at the preseason game last year. There was like 3,500. You see the chartered plane thing happening now. So I think just the impact of her, the marketing of her, all the ads, the commercials, the deals she's getting, she's already changed the game without having one real possession. So now we just get to sit back and watch her and enjoy her success in the WNBA. And it's not going to be easy. It's another monster up here. It's another competitive physical. It's not. There's going to be some nights where she's going to look like a rookie, but I think for the most part, she's going to go and get buckets the majority of the nights.
Did you see the video, Lou? The charter, first ever, the big charter WNBA. Now we get to all do it. How great is it? I mean, it's a small victory and yet a huge victory.
I did. It made me so happy that they were happy, and it made me also think about an interesting dynamic that the WNBA has that the NBA doesn't. Because I'm looking at Caitlin Clark, and I'm thinking, wow, she's probably the first rookie to ever have first dibs on sitting wherever she wants to sit on a charter plane. Because in the NBA, I don't care if you're LeBron James or anybody in the world, you gotta wait till all the vets pick their seats and then you get what's left over. In the WNBA, because she has so much impact and being able to create change and be able to help those young ladies have some of the perks of being in the WNBA as they should have. I'm like, wow, maybe she wants to sit in that chair. I think she picks her seat first, and then everybody else falls in line. So it's a completely different dynamic in the WNBA than the NBA.
You know what's funny, Lou? I was thinking about that. Like, there's no way Wemby is sitting front row like that with his legs spread out. He's sitting with another rookie or someone else young. They're bunking up, and while we're playing cards and we're getting our own seats, I was thinking that exact same thing when I saw that. But listen, she's got the juice.
Even on a team like the Spurs, though, where everybody's 12, like kind of, it's not like there's a major senior on the squad. Like, do you think it's changed?
Chandler, you know what else is dope? They don't even have like staff to fill up the plane. Like, they got girls sitting in the second section where the coaches usually would sit and everything. They don't have the staff to fill up the plane, so everybody can stretch out and really enjoy the perks of being on a charter flight. So salute to the WNBA for getting this part of it right. Hopefully it gets better and better and better for these young women. Salute.
Were you a card table guy, Lou?
I was absolutely a card table guy.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Are all the planes, are they all configured the exact? I mean, I'm trying to think Spurs and Nets. Yeah. But are they all like the same exact? All right. I just didn't know.
We share planes. It's a handful of teams that have their own planes. But everybody else, we share the charters. They'll drop us off, go pick up another team, come back and get us, and that type of thing. So, yeah.
See, sometimes even the hockey, it's like all thrown in there. She's got the prop bet for her tonight. Over under is 20.5. Chandler, you taking it?
Under.
What are you doing? Under.
Over.
Okay.
Over, because I think she's gonna be aggressive, right? She's gonna shoot 15, 20 shots. I think she can easily get that.
I'm saying under because I'm pretty sure Chandler didn't watch any preseason Indiana Fever basketball like I did. So I'm going under.
We're taking the under. I mean, I don't think it'll be nerves though. Weirdly enough, she doesn't strike me as the type of human that nerves have an effect on her.
No, right, I think it's just a little different in the WNBA. They got the time the game plan for her. It's gonna be a little tougher to score there than in college.
27.
27. Damn, he's going way over. All right. Lou, take that bet. $10,000. Boom. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Come back a little bit more. Run it back when we return.
Run it up, then run it back. Run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Shams scoops. I'm almost afraid to ask Shams, but word on the street, I see a Lakers logo. What's happening?
I'm told JJ Redick, James Borrego, and Sam Cassell have emerged as the leading head coaching targets for the Lakers. They're going to begin their formal process this week. One interesting wrinkle, I'm told the Lakers have used Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, as an unofficial resource so far during the process. Obviously, he's someone who has great lineage, great history within the game of basketball. He has a history with JJ Redick, having coached JJ Redick. He has deep ties to multiple candidates involved in this coaching search, from what I'm told, and obviously helping the Lakers, and really has always given his wisdom when he's called upon based on staffing, how to build a culture around a team. And so he's someone that the Lakers have relied on to an extent here in this process. But for the Lakers, this coaching search is really about threading that needle between the end of this potential, whether it's a 2-year window of LeBron James and Anthony Davis as that star duo, and then transitioning more around Davis and really placing a premium around AD, around his growth, around his development, and the current returning players. And they're going to really look at player development as something that's going to be important for the next head coach. I had one source tell me this is more of a hire about AD than LeBron. The Lakers are starting this process with a few initial favorites.
Well, I mean, LeBron's going to be a Cav next year. I wonder if that changes anything, according to Chandler. Guys, the reaction: Sam Cassell, Borrego, and JJ Redick. Of course, that's the list I had in my mind.
I want Borrego to get the job.
Why? Just because he's not Sam Cassell or JJ Redick?
Yes. That's precisely the reason why. JJ, I don't want JJ to come into coaching with this type of pressure on him. I want him allowed to be able to grow, to be able to become a great coach. I think with this job, he's going to have the expectations that no other coach in the league will have as a rookie head coach. I don't think that'll be fair to him. And the same thing with Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell is such a great guy, such a great coach. I don't want to see him get his debut with an action-packed pressure, such a pressure situation like a Los Angeles Lakers job that can put you in a different position than any other job in the NBA. And so for that, with those two guys being former players, I'm a little sensitive to their legacies. I don't want them to have this job. So give it to Borrego.
You're admitting that whoever takes this job is another sacrificial lamb, and you're set up to fail and get fired.
I don't think they can be a sacrifice. It's just one of those jobs. It's championship or bust. It's win or go home. There's no room for rebuilds. There's no room for trying to get better. We'll get them next year. The Los Angeles Lakers doesn't have that spirit. It's right now. And I think 2 out of 3 of those coaches, they would have extra added pressure on them because they have name and facial recognition as guys who have been former players, like a Darwin Ham. We've seen that movie already. And so you replace a Darwin Ham with another former player that's going to be a rookie coach. It's going to be the same scenario over and over and over again. So give it to somebody who's had head coaching experience and allow them the opportunity to grow with this team.
Chandler, who do you want to see?
I see both sides of this job. First of all, I don't think it's a great job because I think, like we all just know, it's win now. There's high expectations, and when you're someone like JJ Redick, who's so young, so fresh, so good in the media space, you go do this. You could be unemployed and never get a head coaching job in 2 years. Obviously, you can always go back to media and do what he's doing now, so there's not that much pressure. And at the end of the day, it is the Lakers' job. It's like coaching the Yankees. It's pretty fucking cool. Like it is. It's a good gig. You're always going to have the top free agents take a look at you. You have Los Angeles. You have the weather. You have everything that goes with being the jobless. You have a shot clock. So if it doesn't work out, sure, this could be his only kind of stint of being a head coach job. Maybe he can work him back, be an assistant somewhere else, put in his time, and get another look down the road. But it's a pressure-packed job. When you look at the landscape of the Western Conference too, every team ahead of them this year is in better shape than them. And every team behind them, when you look at the Houston Rockets, young and upcoming, Memphis Grizzlies, with John Morant healthy next year, a better team than the Lakers. The San Antonio Spurs, so there's every team in the Western Conference is kind of going like this. And then there's all this stuff about the Lakers, and they're always going to be in contention to get free agents, but it's just it's a dicey job. And so those 3 guys, I don't have a pick because I don't care, but it's just I don't get it. I don't understand.
That's an honest answer. We don't care, but we will care.
I love Sam Cassell. I don't know Borrego. Sam Cassell's hilarious. I love him. I think Sam Cassell's a player's coach. I think players will like him, will respect him. JJ, same thing. He's been there before. I don't know if he can get the locker room. The idea of LeBron not having a voice in this whole search, I'm not buying that either. I think he definitely has input. I definitely think that there's something there with him as well. But these 3, I mean, it's going to be pressure for all 3 of them to win now, and it's going to be a stressful job regardless. But at the end of the day, they're going to live in LA, and they're going to be the head coach of the Lakers, which is really cool.
Very cool. And you'll get paid no matter if you do 1 year or you finish out your contract. So that's awesome. Shams, love you, mean it. I know you're going to go out there and get it. I come back with JJ Redick because I feel like that's where we're headed, and it's going to be awesome.
Great show today, Shams. Great show, man. I want your gig. How you came
I can hear your
today.
phone. I'm like, breaking news is happening. Oh, that music means we're done? No. I mean, maybe we are. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with some You Buying That.
Run it back, run it up, then run it back, yeah.
Little you buying that time. Brandon Ingram, y'all, very frustrated about his usage during the playoff series against the Thunder. And then the speculation, of course, is that he's going to be moved, traded. So, Chandler, is it best for both parties, both the Pelicans and BI, if they were to move on?
Yeah, I think so. I think this year had a lot to do with injuries and just inconsistency of him being on the floor and Zion's health and things like that. But I think it just didn't pan out the way when they were healthy. They still weren't an elite team. So I'd like to see him go somewhere else because he is such a good scorer. He's so tall, he's so long, he can get to his spots. He's one of the dynamic ISO scorers that the league has. So I'd love to see him kind of start fresh, go somewhere else, and he deserves to get paid a lot of money this summer. So I don't know where that's going to be yet. There's a couple of teams I think he would fit nicely on, but and it wouldn't be the worst thing if he did go back there because this team has showed promise when they are healthy. But I think it's best that he dips.
He ain't going back.
Yeah,
He ain't going back. You could tell by the GM's comments and everything like that. He ain't coming back.
Okay, so we'll keep our eye on where he's headed. Lou, I know you love Trae Young in Atlanta, but let's just think about what's best for Trae Young as well, okay? Because we've heard it over and over again. He might be being shopped. They do have that number 1 pick that they got on Sunday. So are you buying that the Spurs should put those top 10 picks together and figure out a package and bring Trae Young to San Antonio?
I'm not buying simply because the Hawks have now got the number 1 pick. So now I think the Atlanta Hawks are staying put with the guys that they have, and now they have the ammo to go out to go get somebody like a Brandon Ingram or DeMar DeRozan or somebody like that to pair with a DeJounte and a Trae Young and get this thing one more go. So I'm not buying it. I think before the Hawks got the number 1 pick, this possibly could have been something that the Spurs and the Hawks would have considered to do a deal and get in bed with each other. But now that the Hawks have the number 1 pick, I think they're in the space of not being as collaborative, and they feel like they have somewhat of an advantage, and they're holding the cards. And so I think they try to keep their core together and try to bring in a big-time scorer to go with those guys.
All right. Needing a head coach aside, Chandler, the Lakers also probably in the market for a big player. 17th pick in the draft, 3 first-round picks. Maybe they put that together and go get a 3rd star alongside LeBron and AD. Who would be the ideal addition if they were to do that?
Well, it's interesting. Last year we were talking about, is it Zach LaVine? Is it DeMar DeRozan? These guys, and I think it needs to be more of a shooter. I would love to see Klay Thompson. If he happens to leave Golden State, he kind of makes sense to me to go here. They need shooting. They need someone to space the floor. Now, I don't know if he's still got that star mentality and he's still got that star health. But, man, he would provide exactly what they need. He would space the floor for those 2 guys. They'd obviously need to add some other pieces. They're going to need to replace D'Angelo Russell, but they're going to have Austin Reeves back. They're still going to have their picks and their money this summer. They're going to end up drafting Bronny James with the 17th pick, and LeBron's going to go back there. So we'll see what happens. But I think they need shooting. I don't hate Trae Young here either, but he just fired Rich Paul, and so I don't feel like that's good. If he was going to go to the Lakers, that was going to happen. I feel like that's the last thing he would have done was fire LeBron's agent if he wanted to get to LA. But I can really see Klay Thompson here.
God, it's hard to even visualize it, but it makes sense when you say the words out loud. Lou, 6th straight year that the team with the worst record in the league did not land the number 1 pick. Pistons have won in 2 seasons a combined 31 games and have gotten the 5th pick twice now. So, are you buying that it's time to go back to the old drawing board and figure out the lottery system?
No, it's called a lottery.
I know.
You don't get guaranteed results in a lottery. It's an opportunity. It's a chance to win. You get a chance. You get as many balls in the thing to represent your team, and you hope that it bubbles up and it gives you what you're looking for. They hadn't gone the Detroit Pistons way. Tough cookie. Nope. Keep moving. You know what I mean? Tough cookie. But it's called the NBA lottery. It's not called lose the most games and you guarantee get the number 1 pick. So, no, I think the system is just fine. It just hadn't went their way.
Don't I know it? Play the lottery every week. Still haven't won. Consensus top 2 overall. I know, it sucks. Top 2 overall picks this year's draft are both international players. From France, Chandler, Joel Embiid, Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama. There's some pretty big talent coming out of France right now. So are you buying that they are easily second place to the U.S. in talent. Huh?
I mean, Europe in general has made such a jump in talent. When you look at the guys in the NBA, look at Giannis, you look at Jokic, you look at Sabonis, Luka, Porzingis. There's so many good players. But yeah, when you look at the last draft, you look at Wemby, what he can become. If you're going to count Joel Embiid, even though he's playing on Team USA, he is French. He would count. And then these two guys, I guess we got to give them time to see if they pan out. But yeah, historically, they've had great teams in the Olympics. Spain has had great team in the Olympics. So there is just such a collection of great players over there. The Wagner brothers are Germans. There's so many other countries that have good players. But yeah, when you look at the elite defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert, and what Wemby can become, and now these next 2 1 and 2 picks, it's hard not to look at France as the number 1 over there in Europe.
Get that French jersey. Get it out.
Tony Parker, Tony Parker, Boris Diaw, Batum, Joakim Noah. Like they have a lot. They have a lot of talent.
I love it. I love it. Lou, Anthony Edwards was asked if Jamal Murray was an OG that he'd been following throughout his career. His answer, hell no. He's only, 27 years old? Murray is in his 8th season. So are you buying that you have to be either over 35 or at least 10 years in the league to be considered an OG?
Yeah, that's the rules. The rules is 10 years. You're a vet. You're a vet after 5. And you're an OG after 10. It has nothing to do with age, though. At 28, 29, I was considered an OG, but I was considered a young OG because that was my 10th or 11th year in the league, but I wasn't even 30 years old yet. So that was an adjustment for me, being called OG and being called Unc and still not being 30 years old. You know what I mean? But the criteria is you have to be 10 years in. And also, you have to be respected. Just because you're 10 years in, that doesn't make you an OG. That qualifies you to be an OG. That doesn't make you one. If you're 10 years in and 10 years over and you don't have the body of work that guys can respect, or you don't have the voice or the respect that's garnered with being an older guy in the locker room, you're not an OG. You're just an old-ass player. And so sometimes that happens as well. But 10 years to qualify. And anything after 10 years, it's how you carry yourself. It's how valuable the words are that you speak to the team, and all of those things, and the respect that you garner from the guys in the locker room. So just because you're 10 years in, don't make you an OG.
Yeah, like my OGs weren't the best players on the team. My OGs were DeMarcus Camby, Francisco Garcia, Carlos Delfino. Like those are my OGs. That doesn't make just because they were the best vets, they were the best leaders. Those were my guys. It wasn't necessarily the best player, and damn sure wasn't Jamal Murray, who's 6 years older than Anthony Edwards. So I love that he said that. Like DeAndre Jordan is more of an OG than Crawford or Jamal Murray.
100% agree with that. Quick break. We'll be back.
Run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up, run it back, run it up.
Well, we got a few seconds left. Look who's on the show tomorrow, you guys. DeMar DeRozan. That's it?
Devo.
Okay, there you go. There it is. Now we can ask that question tomorrow, right around the corner. We will see y'all in the morning. Enjoy the games tonight.
Run it back, run it back, run it up, run it back.